Well, it's time for Salad Tales. Today's story, Hans, Greta, and the Cottage Cheese Cottage.
A long time ago in a magical faraway land called Frankenmuth, Michigan, there lived a pair of German twins. The brother, who went by the name Hans, and his sister, who was named Greta Van Fleet, but preferred to be called Greta because of the rising popularity of a local rock band with the same name.
The twins had an evil stepmom who owned a popsicle stand, but she hated her job. I mean, she hated everything. She even openly hated her stepkid's little fucking guts because, if I'm being totally honest here, Greta was kind of a downer all the time, and Hans quite literally had a potato for a brain.
To make matters even worse, their father was the town drunk. He loved them very much, but if we're being honest and you said we were, he didn't love them more than sucking down a bottle of the old Jack Daniel's Tennessee honey for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah, and because of the circumstances, this family was dead-ass broke. I mean, they knew they wouldn't be able to keep themselves warm, fed, and drunk off of whiskey through the ever-anticipated winter coming.
So, the evil stepmom devised a plan to ditch her scummy little stepchildren for good. She would send them on a meaningless errand, and while they were away, she'd pack up the drunk husband and all the valuables and blow that popsicle stand once and for all.
On a brisk fall morning, the evil stepmom decided the time was right. She dumped a large bucket of water on Hans and Greta to shock them out of their slumber. Then, she had the goddamn nerve to send them off to refill it at the well at the top of the hill.
Hans and Greta went up the hill to fetch a pail of water, but Hans fell down and severely bumped his melon, and Greta thought he should see a doctor.
Whoa, dude, that almost rhymed.
Damn, it kinda did, didn't it?
Anyways, Hans was out cold for about 4 minutes, but when he finally came to, something amazing had happened. He was like 10 times smarter than he was before.
Okay, right, but how smart is that exactly? Because, earlier you said he had a goddamn potato as a brain, for crying out loud.
Fair enough. Let's say he's now got the IQ of a first grader. So Hans and Greta headed home, but when they returned, they found nothing but an abandoned popsicle stand, completely empty and burning to the ground.
With nothing left for them in the city of Frankenmuth, the twins decided to head over the river and through the woods to Granny's house. They hadn't been since they were babies, and didn't know how exactly to get there, but they knew their granny lived somewhere in the general direction, and figured it was worth a shot.
They wandered the woods until nightfall, but never really felt that they had any sense of direction. Tensions grew high, they were both starving, and Greta had been holding in a massive shit in hopes they would find Granny's house sooner than later.
All of a sudden, the smell of three-bean chili filled the air. The twins thought it must be coming from Granny's house. She must have known they were coming and started cooking up some dank grindage for them to munch down on when they got there.
The scent led them straight to a strange-looking cottage that appeared to be made entirely out of cottage cheese.
Weird, for some reason I thought it was going to be a giant shoe.
No. That's definitely a different story, bro. Anyway, forgetting all about their granny, they ran as fast as they could to this cottage cheese cottage. The twins dove right in and started shoving fistfuls of the cottage cheese into their cheeks.
Before too long, the door of the cottage swung open to reveal a frail woman dressed in a nightgown and sleeping cap.
The twins were very excited to see Granny. It had been years since the last time they were able to visit her.
And she was very excited to see them too. She told the children to come inside because she had been preparing an extraordinary meal all day, and she was very eager to get the main course at the table.
Greta had her suspicions. She didn't remember Granny ever living in a cottage made of cottage cheese, but she really needed a shit, and her brother Hans had no hesitation whatsoever, so they entered the Granny's cottage cheese cottage.
Granny quickly closed the door and let out a howling laugh. She flicked on the lights to reveal a large pot full of three-bean chili bubbling and steaming on her stove.
Just to the right of the pot was a cutting board and a meat cleaver, covered in blood, with a Red Riding Hood draped over it.
Greta knew something was up for sure now, but still couldn't quite figure it out. She slowly turned to see that Granny had actually been a wolf dressed as Granny the whole time. The Granny wolf pounced on Hans, who had also not realized that the three-bean chili was made from human meat, and he was helping himself to a healthy portion.
Luckily, Greta always pulls up strapped and busted out her Desert Eagle and delivered one fatal shot directly to the wolf's cochlea.
The twins killed the Granny wolf in her own cottage cheese cottage.
That's fucked up, man.
It's a pretty known fact that in Frankenmuth, if you encounter a wolf and it traps you in a cottage cheese cottage and pounces on your twin brother and you kill it with a single shot, you legally take possession of said cottage cheese cottage and the 25 acres surrounding it.
Yup, so that's exactly what Hans and Greta did, and they lived happily ever after. The end.